Get rocking. Make sure all our team is here. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. We really do appreciate the time taken out of your busy schedules to listen to us talk. So again, definitely appreciate it. And we have a lot of stuff here today for you. Myself, I'm Dan Rosenrash. For those of you who do not know me, I am CEO here at Viirtue. I'm joined by a bunch of my peers, Charlene Gustafson. She's our VP of Sales here. I'm joined also by Shauna Mantle. She's making her webinar debut today. We're very excited for that. She's a channel sales manager here at Viirtue. Also joined by Wojtek Voronsky. He's our CTO, as well as Isaac Peak, who is on our T3 engineering team. And with that, I will kick it on over to you guys. Oh, actually, sorry, one more slide for me. So today's agenda, we're going to be going over the DAS program. We were supposed to have Polly join us today, but we had they had some technical difficulties, so they are not able to join. They will be on a future webinar. DAS there's several versions of it. You can get it from your distributor or from the hardware manufacturer. So I know 888 VoIP is going to be on next month. We also have Yealink on here, so they all have their own versions of DAS. So expect to hear, from those different folks over the next few months here. We're also going to be doing a live demo of Mobile Connect today. We have Isaac here for that. We're going to be doing iOS. We'll also be doing Android as well as the Windows version of it. We'll be talking about our brand new Viirtue community Slack, which I'm super excited about. And then we'll go over some network updates and vibe updates with Wojtek. And then if we have some time at the end, we will try and open it up for some QA here. Now I'll hand it on over to you, Shar and Shauna.
Hey guys, I'm going to start us off, and I thought you were supposed to save the best for last, but I volunteered to go first. So I'm going to go through DAS, or Device as a Service. So why is this important to you? Different selling strategies. We're going to touch on different examples on how to increase your gross margins and how this directly affects your business valuation. All right, so why is this important to you guys, right? So Device as a Service is actually going to increase your cash flow and directly increase your gross profit margins. It's going to enable you to compete on those large scale deals that maybe you didn't have the capital to back a rental strategy before.
I do want to add some color around that gross profit margins comment there. So if you guys, for those of you who are intertwined with your books, gross profit margins equipment actually comes directly out of there and directly impacts those gross profit margins. So if you move to a financing strategy, instead of spending all of that capital every month on equipment, you can then directly, again, increase those gross profit margins. So just a little bookkeeping trick that can make you guys have a healthier business. Do we go backwards? There we go.
All righty, and everybody here, Charlene Gustafson, VP Sales here at Viirtue. So we wanted to highlight on some great selling strategies to create disruptive pricing models for Device as a Service. So first and foremost, wanted to go over the difference of CapEx versus OpEx. CapEx means receiving one lump sum up front, while OpEx means receiving a monthly return on investments with additional margins on the back end. Now, providing both purchasing hardware options and rental hardware options can be a great selling strategy because it really does provide flexibility to leave the decision up to the end customer. Now, there are businesses that prefer the CapEx option. However, we have seen a growing attraction over the coming years towards the OpEx model. And please keep in mind, just a nice side note, Device as a Service, also known as DAS, can help minimize your capital almost instantly, and that's something that I'll be getting into a little bit more shortly. But at the end of the day, providing both options could potentially help close the deal because it, again, provides that flexibility and comfort to the end customer because they have the option in their own hands. We also wanted to add on here, Device as a Service easily builds devices into monthly seat costs, and it prevents a large barrier of entry. Traditionally, telecommunications upfront costs could have been thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars. And I'm sure most, if not all of you, are very familiar that today that has significantly changed. But providers such as yourselves now have that flexibility to drastically lower those upfront costs through different pricing structures and models. And then leveraging Device as a Service and then following the OpEx model helps you to prevent any large barrier of entry and create that disruptive pricing model for prospects, not only to find it hard to turn away from, but it'll also help save you capital on the upfront. And last but not least, promote the option or opportunity to upgrade to a new phone model. So on top of really proposing a low barrier of entry to the end customer, through DaaS programs like Poly's, you'll have the ability to offer equipment upgrades and refreshes. So that's another great selling point for a business owner to find attractive as well. We're going to be moving on to some gross margins examples. We put together 3 here for you off one scenario. Example 1 is going to be a CapEx option using your capital. Example 2 is going to be OpEx without device as a service. And then the third is we're going to also talk about OpEx with device as a service. But for now, let's focus on example 1. The scenario at hand is you have a prospect with 50 desk phones at $100 per device. So for this example, 50 phones at $100 is $5,000 upfront is your cost. You're going to go ahead and upsell that devices for this example at 40% to make it $140 in total cost per device. So that total to the end customer is going to be $7,000 with a profit in your pocket of $2,000. Now, moving on to example 2, again, this is an OpEx model where you're still going to be not utilizing device as a service. You're going to use your own capital to purchase those devices. However, you're going to provide the rental options to the end customer. So again, with that same scenario, your $5,000 is going to be total upfront. And let's say for an example, you're going to lease the hardware for $5.50 per month over 6 months. That totals in $198 per device over the course of those 36 months, or for all those 50 devices total, $9,999, putting in your pocket $4,900. You will break even on month 18 and own the devices. However, keep in mind that the capital in this case is necessary for this model and example. And then we're going to move on to example 3. Thank you, Dan. Again, with that same scenario of 50 desk phones at $100 per device, OpEx with the device as a service option. So instead of investing in the devices upfront, no capital is used or needed for this particular example. You can mark up the monthly rental fee per device to your desire as well. So we have $2 per device for example number 3 for 36 months, plus again those 50 devices. That's going to give you a total profit of $3,600. For this, you're still going to want to make a profit and avoid any capital spent. A good side note here is you don't own the devices at the end of the customer lifecycle. However, you can leverage device as a service, device upgrade options at that time. And as Dan mentioned earlier in the webinar, there's a ton of different manufacturers out there who have programs that offer a lot of flexibility and options to help leverage device as a service to your end customer. And then we are going to also focus, Dan, wrong way, on business valuation. We're going to really start with the official definition of business valuation, which is a process and a set of procedures used to estimate the economic value of an owner's interest in a business. 3 of the major factors that play a role in your company's valuation is gross margins for 1, 2 is cash flow, and 3 is assets. And one way to grow your business valuation is really to increase the retention of your customers through things like contract lengths, because that directly increases your multiple, or in other words, your valuation, because you are extending the customer life cycle. And with that, leveraging device as a service again to provide additional flexibility, such as device upgrades during longer contracts, makes it for an overall easier sell. So our goal here really today was to hammer home how device as a service, and you're good, Dan, I'm just wrapping up here, can ultimately really play a large factor and open up a number of opportunities in increasing your business valuation. And to kind of seal it all up, device as a service really could be the missing puzzle piece to your business, or it could be something you're already, taking advantage of, but it's something you can leverage a bit more. So with that, if you have any other questions, feel free to contact me, contact Shauna or any of your Viirtue reps here, or you can also email me directly. And my email is my first name, Charlene@Viirtue.com.
Thank you so much, Shar. And also, I did forget to announce at the beginning, there is a questions section for GoToWebinar on the control panel. So if you do have any questions that you'd like to ask throughout the webinar, please just throw them in that questions. We'd be happy. We're going to try and answer them during the webinar or towards the end if we have some time today, which I think we will because Polly was unable to attend today. So again, just throw them in there if you do have any questions. Oops, wrong button. All right. So next, we're going to go through our Mobile Connect demo, and I got Isaac on here to help us through here. So I know our last webinar, we had talked about Mobile Connect, very similar slide to this one actually. And somebody had brought up a great comment, why didn't we do a demo? And yeah, we heard that feedback. I think it was great feedback. So today we're not only gonna do a demo of just Mobile Connect on iOS, but we're also gonna show it to you on Android as well as on Windows. And I'm gonna we'll start with Windows and Android, and then we'll flip back over to my screen so I can show you on iOS. Just for you that don't know about this application, if you weren't able to join us last month, it is an alternative to GoVoIP. So our GoVoIP application, that's essentially NetSapiens' version of their application, which they call Snap Mobile. We have our own flavor, of course, we call it GoVoIP, but that is what that application is. The Acrobats application for Mobile Connect is significantly better when it comes to like stability, voice quality, those kinds of things. I use it now. I really don't use GoVoIP anymore. I will say some folks coming from another vendor that also used Acrobats, it is different. They're on an older version of Acrobats, I believe. So if you have used that version and you weren't happy with it, don't let it taint your image of Mobile Connect. Definitely give it a try because they are two different SDKs. And you'll see what we've noticed, the deal here is essentially NetSapiens just has a handful of mobile app developers, and Acrobats is an entire team, and this is all they focus on. So they're able to push out updates much quicker. Just overall, the stability has been night and day versus what we've seen with GoVoIP. It is an additional cost for partners. The cost schedule is below. It's just like everything else, it's built on a sliding scale. So the more you put on there, the more you use. A common question we got was, does it include both desktop and mobile? And the answer is yes. So if you have one user that has the mobile app as well as using the desktop app, that's only one billable seat as far as Acrobats is concerned. So with that being said, I'm going to pass presenter controls to you, Isaac, here in just a second. I can find you. There you are.
Give me them controls, Dan.
Perfect. Let me know when you get them.
Alrighty. Show my screen. Can we do just the app? Give me just a second.
No worries. And while Isaac's getting set up there too, one other thing I do want to point out. So in the Android store, it's called Mobile Connect. In the iOS store, it's called the Mobile Connect. Mobile Connect, I think, was already taken, so we just had to prefix it with a V. So just to add that, but all you, Isaac.
Can you guys see the app screen there? So this is the Windows 10 app. There is a Mac OS version as well that we don't have out just yet, but it should resemble this as well. When you first log in, you have your dial pad, as you would expect, voicemail buttons, all that stuff. Your quick dials down here. You know, it has the feedback, it has all that good stuff in there. We can go into contacts, and it will pull the portal contacts, anything that you have in there, as GoVoIP did before as well. And then if you click quick dial shows your current contacts, and then web service will show you the rest of them. We go into recents, and this actually shows you your call history and your SMS history. That's all in there. As you can see, I have a bunch of unread from doing testing on this, and as well as other things. If we go in here, it will show the MMS messages, the SMS, it'll show it all. The attachments, those are all loading. And then we have the voicemail tab. This voicemail tab will actually be built out a little more. There'll be some more features in here as we continue to develop the app. But it is, as you see voicemail in the portal, you have new, you have saved, and you have trash. You can play them, forward them, save them, do whatever you need to do here. If there's transcription, all that information is in here for you. This is a do not disturb specific for the device, and you'll notice this in the Android and in the iOS app as well. So you can toggle D&D specific for the device. Then you've got your account settings, notifications, all that good stuff in here, logs if you need to. And then reset is what we call log out. So both in the Windows app and in iOS and Android, reset is log out. So if we ever ask you to log out and log back into it, that's what you're going to want to do. So that is the Windows version of it. Let's see here if I can switch over to the Android version.
We do have a bunch of questions, Isaac, so I'll
Sure,
show
yeah.
mobile and then we'll answer these questions before we move along.
It's supposed to be this one. And can you see this screen? Can you
We
see
see
which?
your apps.
You see the apps, okay. I don't know why. Okay.
I can
hold
do
on.
just iOS. It's essentially the same thing.
If you want to do that, because it's not letting me select that specific window.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. Let me
Guys.
take a look.
But
All right.
it looks the same. It looks exactly the same, guys.
All right. Are you guys able to all see my screen here?
Yep, I think we can see now.
Perfect. So yeah, so the iOS version is very, they're all obviously very similar, feature parity between. So as soon as you open up the application, you have your dial pad here. You'll notice in the top left, this Mobile Connect registration will give you do not disturb. It'll also show its registration mode. So I believe for like a half a second, you'll see that barrier or that circles around Mobile Connect. It'll look like it's connecting, and then it'll solidify once you are actually connected to it. You have your account settings in the application, just like Isaac had just showed you by clicking that top right. Again, D&D is over there in the top left-hand corner if you click onto Mobile Connect. You have your quick dials. So again, very similar to the desktop application. You have your call history like you guys have seen before. It should sync your call history here. We did have a question there that I want Isaac to answer. We'll get to in a second. Again, you can bring up your keypad. Your contacts will sync just like Isaac had just showed you. So you can pull either your address book from your phone, or you can actually pull from the web service, which will pull, again, all your contacts and colleagues from the actual NetSapiens platform. We also have meetings. As you see, I use it mostly for my junk messages, but you guys can obviously use it the same. Works just the same as it does on desktop. And then we also have voicemail on here as well. All right, so I did want to get to, and I'm going to move to my other screen real quick here. We did have a slew of questions that I think, Isaac, you'll be helpful since you've been playing point on this whole project. So first question was from Raj, when do we anticipate the Apple desktop version is going to be available?
I don't have, I would hope before the end of Q1. It's really just working with them and getting it set up and pushed, honestly. So it shouldn't take too much longer to get that one out and going. But I would say it should be out before the end of Q1.
Perfect. Thank you, Isaac. And then another question we had from Tyler, is the monthly charge per extension or per sign-in? So we, just like everything else, we bill you guys the exact way we get billed. So the way Acrobits bills us is if there is a registration on that app once in any given month, it is a billable component. So if they don't use the app, if it's just sitting on, on their desktop and they never log in or whatever the case is, then they should not get billed for it. But if they are to log in once, then it does become a billable component. So hopefully that answers your question there.
Correct.
Is the desktop version available now? Is a question from Josh. Yes, the Windows version, Apple, we are still waiting on.
Yeah, it's in the Windows store. If you just search Mobile Connect, it should be the only one that pops up.
Yep. And then Gabe had a question. Hey guys, is there a way to get a testing login for this? Yeah, so Mobile Connect doesn't give us like test licenses or anything like that. So it would essentially be, if you were to download your own to test it, it would follow whatever the licensing pattern is here. We wish we could do someday. Just again, our whole model is cost plus. So whatever we get billed, we just, margins and we just move it through. So we do it the exact same way. Another question, I think, Isaac, this is a little better for you. Does call history sync to the voice platform so that it is the same history across all devices linked to the user? That was another question from Josh.
So currently, the call history that you see in the app is specific to the call history that the app has taken. So it's the way the SDK works is it only reads the local call history that's come into the app itself. That is something that we're working on, that voicemail tab, as I mentioned, that we'll be building out some extra features in there that will have all of the call history synced from the portal for the user. So that we're going to work on trying to get that integrated with the, on that same call history page. I think it's a limitation with Acrobits SDK. So We're working with them on that, but at the very least in that custom page where we have the voicemail right now, there will be more settings and options there that will be fully fledged out, I guess is the best way to put it.
Thank you, Isaac. And we had another similar question. So give me 1 second here. Another question was, can you manage voicemail greetings from the application? I believe the answer is yes, right? Right, Isaac?
Yes, yeah, you should be able to. Yes, yeah, 100% you should be able to. Yeah.
Yeah, and then had another question about licensing. So hopefully that, Brent, answered your question. The previous question answered yours there. Another question we had from Tim: is there BLF? There is on that contacts. I'll let Isaac get into a little more detail there, but there is.
There is on the contacts and the quick dial. The dot there should match what it matches in the portal for BLF if they're on the phone, off the phone, whatever the case is.
Cool. And then we'll do one. There's a bunch more, but we'll do one more, and then we'll answer the rest here at the end. Hopefully, if we have time. Another question was from Gabe: is the app brandable? So yes, you can. You can contract directly with Acrobits. If you'd like information on that, just let us know. It is pretty expensive upfront cost. So I'll set that expectation. But you can actually go directly with them and build your own. I know we do have a few partners who have it, so that's not an issue if that's the way you want to go. All right. So moving along, we're going to move to the next slide here. And actually, this one I'm going to grab Wojtek if you're here.
I am. Thank you, Dan. I'm Wojtek Voronsky, CTO here at Viirtue. And we just quickly wanted to provide some updates on some network enhancements that we have planned and are making move towards. One of them is portal redundancy. Currently, our infrastructure is allowing all, we have the ability to shift traffic quickly between different servers. So if we have an issue on one particular server, we can quickly shift traffic by just updating a DNS entry, which is why all of your DNS entries are configured with CNAME records, where prior to me coming to this company, everything was an address record. So that gives us kind of flexibility to shift traffic quickly. But however, we do want to kind of provide a more, robust experience in terms of resiliency and that parity is essentially like what we have with Vibe. So what we want to do is we want to essentially use our cluster of servers with load balancing and essentially health checks to make sure that if there is an issue on one particular portal server, that we can automatically redirect traffic to one that is healthy, so that way the users are completely unaffected by that. Obviously that's not without challenges, because we're doing a lot of great things to make sure that we're minimizing costs to you, the resellers. So for instance, a lot of you come on board, you don't have to purchase SSL certificates. We're using Let's Encrypt, which is a free encryption service, but coordinating all that stuff with a cluster and making sure that they're all in sync is a challenge. So we are working through those challenges and coming up with a plan and architecture that is going to support that seamlessly. The end result will be that you still have the value of not having to pay for SSL certificates, that we do have the redundancy with multiple cloud servers, and that way everything should just work seamlessly. So we will keep you posted on timelines and progress with that. We're right now kind of going through the architectural phase with respect to that. And exciting stuff coming up to just keep on strengthening and making our systems more resilient and robust. Also on the Cloudflare front, as you guys all know, we're still kind of in the midst of a pandemic. Getting hardware is expensive, and we are working diligently with several different vendors to get the actual hardware that we need within our data centers to ensure that we can spin that up. We are at the tail end of basically that implementation, we've already got like the networking components provisioned within our data centers. It's just a matter of actually spinning up the hardware to support GRE tunnels between Cloudflare without getting too technical, and essentially switching over our network from the legacy IPs to the new IPs. And at that point, we should have essentially, a DDoS mitigation, as well as, web application firewall protection, on all of our digital assets within our network, within our individual data centers. And we will also, as we roll out our which is, I'm kind of skipping ahead one step, and I'll let Dan talk about TransNexus. We will also be implementing the same pattern within the West Coast data center to ensure that from inception that it is automatically protected with Cloudflare and has all the benefits of edge protection, DDoS mitigation, and all those wonderful things. So again, we continue to strengthen our security posture and to ensure that we continue to make sure that as we grow, that we're making sure that the platform grows with us and supports redundancy and resilience to best serve you guys as resellers and partners. And with that, I'll let Dan talk about TransNexus.
Yeah, so if you guys are not familiar with TransNexus, or ClearIP is the name of the actual software product, but we've been implementing this over the last several months. It is fully implemented at this point for automated fraud mitigation as well as stir-shaken. So what that does is it protects you guys as partners, because if any of your customers' devices get compromised, instead of us having to say, oh, hey, there's hundreds of calls coming from this user and shutting it down and you guys getting hit with that call volume, TransNexus actually does that automatically. So it'll stop any kind of call pumping or fraudulent actions. What happens is when a call goes out, it actually goes out now to those SBCs first, and the SBC takes a look at it, and using AI and other algorithms that we have set up, it says, hey, is this an actual call, and should I connect this to the carriers, or should I stop this call in its tracks and stop all other calls coming from this specific device? So we had it up in like a light version where it would just alert our NOC and basically create a ticket so we can take a look. We had that going for several months because we obviously didn't want to start blocking legitimate calls. So we did that for several months with great success. So we turned it on, I want to say the end of December, where it now actually itself blocks calls. It's not a manual process anymore. And we've had a lot of great feedback. I think we only had like one really large, one of our partners is a really, really large enterprise customer with like thousands of users that had an issue with the call volume, and we are able to change those settings on the back end. So if you guys do see any issues, just let us know. But so far it's been a great success. And also stir-shaken has been fully implemented on that side. So we're doing the handshake as we should with all the carriers. So now if your calls are getting marked as like spam likely, odds are that they were actually flagged. So our support team has some resources where you can submit disputes with the carriers to try and get those numbers unmarked as spam. But again, we're on our side, we're fully set up with stir-shaken. So it should not be because of anything, on our side, I should say. Right, and then Wojtek, I'll pass it back to you here.
All right, thanks, Dan. Just a couple of updates. The end of December and the beginning of January has been kind of huge for the engineering team here at Viirtue. We've added 2 new full stack developers, and so you probably recently saw some updates coming out of for Vibe. And typically we would release software within like 2-week periods, but we were going through a ramp up period to get these developers onboarded. So you should start seeing, like I said, an incremental increase in bug fixes and feature enhancements, which will then actually kind of die down real quick as well, because we are getting hands down into creating a end customer portal, which will be a billing platform for your end customers, which will be fully brandable, mobile first. So when we have like some first steps in terms of like what that's going to look like with some resellers, we've already shared some screenshots to get them excited about like what's coming. Just know that that is something that we are fully committing to within Q1. And before we wrap that up, we're essentially going to, and I'm kind of going out of order here, so I apologize, but we are going to go ahead and create 2 new reports that are going to provide super valuable in terms of a tax remittance and compliance standpoint, which we had to kind of overhaul how we did taxation within the platform, which is now live, which you guys saw within the release notes. And what that did is it allows us to essentially track taxation at a line item level. So for instance, on NRCs and MRCs, we now track all the taxes that are applicable to that line item. So right now within the system, that stuff is being tracked, but it's not like being surfaced anywhere other than the tax liability report, which I will show you guys in a minute. So I'm actually going to go ahead and Dan, if you can make me the presenter, I'm going to share my screen so that way we're going to jump around a little bit. I'm going to talk about the taxation bit, and then I'm going to give a upcoming preview of what's happening with our Documo integration. So whenever you're ready, Dan, hand over the reins.
You should have them. Let me know if you don't get them.
I got the spinning wheel of death right now, so just give me 1 second.
I got that as I was handing it over, so it might take a moment. And we had a question while Wojtek's getting set up, a question that came in here. It's when can we expect to see the usage per customer? Leonard, if you could just explain a little bit more detail, just exactly what you're looking for there, and we'll try and get it answered here towards the end. And we can see you, Wojtek.
Okay, cool, great. So now you guys are seeing my screen. So the first part that I'm going to demo, I'm going to actually switch over to our production environment, and I'm going to just quickly show you guys of what you can expect within, you know, the actual taxation. So again, nothing has actually changed here within the interface. What we may do at a later point in time as an enhancement is essentially provide the ability to view the actual taxes that are applied on these individual item levels. You can't see them now. You can still see the information in aggregate here. But if you take a look at, like, for instance, the taxes here, the local taxes, you can see that we still show them in aggregate here, like the county sales tax. But now if we go into the tax liability report, you're going to start seeing things like, okay, well, this is Tampa, or this is Hillsborough County, which is a county sales tax. So we still aggregate at the county, at the actual appropriate tax description, but now we include the actual authority name. Unfortunately, we weren't able to retroactively populate all this data because the way that our tax engine works is it only works with the current tax tables, so we can't retroactively go back in time. But if you want to cheat the system with basically anything that you have current, and you don't want to wait for another billing cycle to roll around, what you could do is you could go into an existing billing cycle. And for instance, if I were to go to David's Bridal and into a billing period, if I just triggered an update on a specific item, that right there will populate those itemized taxes instantly and become available within the tax liability report, right? So if you wanted to get that information populated now, you can go ahead and, like I said, trigger an update, and that will go ahead and get that stuff populating. Moving forward, it will automatically happen for any, you know, new billing periods or orders that are invoiced from this point forward. But again, unfortunately, we weren't able to populate it due to a CSI limitation in there in how they basically have their tax table set up. Okay. Now I'm going to kind of jump back to the Documo integration, which is coming. So I'm going to not go through the actual configuration of that stuff. It's going to be pretty straightforward. You just plug in an API key, and then it works very similar to our QuickBooks integration, you know, and ConnectWise integration. But I want to show you guys essentially what you'll be able to do with the actual Documo integration. So I'm going to go ahead and click here and create a quote. And let's say that I say fax quote, and I'm going to add a product, which I already have in here, and it is Mandalorian fax, which I've been watching The Mandalorian recently, so that's top of mind. If we go into the actual fax properties here, you're going to see that it's set up very similarly to how we do voice plans, right? But we have a lot of flexibility here with how we can meter faxes. And so the one that you're looking at right now that has been pre-configured is it's bundled and itemized. And so what it allows you to do is it allows you to specify a monthly service fee, and maybe you want to create an allotment of, hey, this is how many outbound pages you're getting. And then anything you go over that allotment is going to be charged at a given rate. Same thing with inbound. So that's one particular strategy. You have bundled total pages where maybe you want like a shared pool. So hey, I don't care how many inbound or outbound faxes you send. Here's your allotted pool of pages, and then you know anything over those pages is going to be set at a certain rate. Okay. You also have the traditional unlimited, which is essentially okay. Here's an optional monthly service fee that you can specify. And we have the pay-per-page model. So you can set the same rate for outbound and inbound, or you could have different rates for inbound and outbound. So as you guys can see, it offers a ton of flexibility in terms of how you can charge the actual, you know, metering of fax usage, which we do apologize. It has taken us a little bit to get to this point because we were kind of working with Documo and some of their API issues that they were having, which we had to come up with workarounds because they do have rate limiting in place, which is actually affecting how we're going to scrape those usage statistics to ensure that we're providing accurate information in terms of metering. But we're at the tail end of that implementation, and we should have that within the next week or two completed and delivered in beta. So we're excited to get that into your hands for a test run. And at that point, like we'll have what you already have today, which is the voice plan metering, and obviously fax plan metering. So that's super excited to get that into your hands. And I do believe, can you go back to the slide, Dan? I'm going to stop sharing real quick and you can go back to the slide. Because I think I did cover off on everything, but I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. There we go. Oh yeah, so just we wanted to touch base on the fact that we have kicked off development on the end customer portal. Like I said, it's mobile first, and so we're going to allow you guys to customize essentially the branding of that as well. So that way, if you choose to decide to have a light theme or a dark theme, your end users will be able to toggle between that. And the primary goal is to create a foundation essentially for your customers to be able to log into, view their bills, pay their bills, and incrementally expand the functionality there to provide additional services, which I won't dive into in this specific webinar, but just know that we have a ton of exciting stuff planned for the value adds for your end customers, which will obviously directly benefit you resellers, and at a completely different level of self-service, which just isn't in the platform today, but is coming soon.
Yeah, thank you, Wojtek. And we did have Leonard clarified his question, and I actually had one other person who echoed the same question. But this is definitely a popular feature request. When can we expect to see usage per customer within Vibe, so you guys can do a cost analysis? So long story short, that is definitely a very popular request that we have on our radar. It's in our backlog. We've definitely documented it, but we are, just like Wojtek said, we are heads down right now on delivering these features. So we don't have a timeline, but we definitely see that the value there. So I'll move along to the next slide. All right, so this is very exciting. So we do have a Viirtue community Slack now. We've kind of soft launched it over the last couple of weeks. I was just trying to invite, as I saw people basically placing number orders, I was shooting invites to that Slack channel. So we already have over 70 people, and I think there's 75 or so last time I checked. And there has been some very productive conversation. Thank you to Bill and Josh and Ethan and everybody who, and I know I'm missing people, so I'm sorry in advance, but the goal of this community is essentially for you guys to be able to help each other with nuanced stuff that even us here at Viirtue have not run into. So just like you guys know, there's paging equipment out there, and there's all kinds of different things that you can make compatible with our system. So the ability for you guys to help each other, or if you need a tech maybe to help you with an install a few states away, whatever the case is, we really are trying to, our goal for 22 is to really promote the Viirtue community and link you guys together, which is going to be leading up to this later slide that we'll go over in a second. But I do want to pull Isaac back. We do want to talk about E911 today. We were going to do a deep dive, but we actually have some more questions after doing some pretty thorough diligence on here. So basically, long story short, and I'll let Isaac chime in here in a second, is there's two 911 methods now. And I know we talked about this in a previous webinar. What this is for is NetSapiens did a lot of really cool things in V42 to support both Kerry's Law and Ray Baum's Act. So things like the ability to have every single device in, say, a hotel have its own E911 location, or soft phone users that are all working remotely, give those users the ability to, when they log in, if the system notices they're at a different IP address, to auto update their E911. So that's the new version of 911. It's called Dynamic 911. And you'll see in the portal now with V42, you'll actually, just like you see in these screenshots, it's actually in two separate spots. You'll have emergency addresses. That's the new version. That's the enhanced. And then you'll see emergency numbers, which is our legacy version. And Isaac, did you want to add anything here before we? And I got one other thing, but Isaac, do you want to add anything here before we move along to the pricing stuff?
No, so just when you're setting these up, legacy and enhanced, right now you guys will only see the option for legacy once we've done all of our thorough due diligence and we turn this on and you guys have access to it. The setup will be the same the validation of the address will be the same that you do now. You click add 911 number or add address in the enhanced version, and you fill out the exact same information. And you hit validate, and it validates it the same way, and you go from there. So the initial setup of the addresses are exactly the same. It just here you'll get more opportunity to. It'll be more granular based on the device or the user or location or whatever the case is for the client.
Yeah, and we did have a question come in from Josh. In a hotel setting, if we assign a room number to each room, are we billed for each endpoint? I do believe you are, Josh. I think that's the way it works. Isaac, is that the case?
I think so. That's one of the things that we're gonna definitely confirm for you. That way we have that information 100% for everybody. But
Yeah,
I believe that you're correct. Yes, I believe that you're correct.
Yeah, and that's part of Isaac and I, as we were going through this, had some more questions ourselves. So we're trying to get the right information from both NetSapiens as well as Bandwidth, who is the 911 provider in this instance, on that. And to that extent, they wanted to actually raise our pricing immediately on 911. So we fought that pretty heavily, just like they did to us with 10DLC. So we are going to fight that and continue to fight that. As long as we possibly can. They're looking to increase costs by about 25 cents per listing for this new feature, because they're saying it's not even the same product as the old legacy 911. But so they try to give us a date of June 1st is when they're going to up it. I will say we will fight that for as long as we can, just like with 10 DLC. So there's no price increases right this second. It's the same as your other E911 costs. But we'll try and get this fought for you guys as long as we possibly can until they give us no choice. All right. We'll move along here.
The next slide. Yeah, this one, it shows you when you're building a domain or if you edit a new domain, there is a tab for emergency. I've selected one that's, ours that's already filled out, but if you select one that doesn't have an emergency address filled out, there will be an option there for you to click and go ahead and fill it out and validate it. And it happens in all three instances, be it the domain level or the user level, which is in the middle, or the device level there on the end. And then, there's a drop down for each of them. So if you have multiple addresses, multiple locations, once you have that built out, it pulls from that list and you can just select and go as you need. The thing that I do want to say for now, once we get everything going, there will be a grace period of some sort, I imagine, for going from legacy to the new enhanced 911. And so you don't have to worry about that, because if you're missing one or you're running behind a little bit before we fully go to the enhanced 911, we do still have routes and everything set up so that you don't have to worry about that. If you're still using the legacy for whatever reason up until we fully migrate over, in which case then you might be out of luck. But if you had a concern about that leading up to it, don't be alarmed. Your customers can still call 911 and get the assistance that's needed.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. So which leads us to the next slide. So, just moving to the theme of enhancing and empowering our community this year. We do have our first ever Viirtue event. It's called Viirtue Connect. It's going to be December 6th through 7th of this year in St. Petersburg, Florida. We're going to be hosting it at the Hilton, is going to be our venue, downtown St. Pete there, overlooking the pier and the water. It's a awesome place and a great time of the year down here. So we really would love to have you guys join us. We think it's going to be a ton of fun. We already have a lot of pre-registrations, tickets sold, as well as vendors pre-signed up. So, and there'll be keynote sessions, there'll be a ton of training. So if you guys have not pre-registered, open a ticket with support, just like we showed you with the Slack. If you do want that invite to Slack, if you're not in there, just open a ticket to support, and we have the sign up link there. We will have this March an actual full website for the event, as well as a prospectus if you want more information. But it's going to be a 2-day event with training both days, speakers both days, and panels, and then we'll have both nights. We'll have events. That'll be very fun. We're already throwing around some ideas that we're really excited about. So we hope to see you there. We hope to get to meet you in person. It's going to be a great time. And with that said, I think I answered just about all the remaining questions in the questions bubble there. I'll also open up if you guys do have any questions, you want to pop them in there. But also if you just want to pop into Slack, into that community Slack, we'll do that. We're also thinking for moving forward for webinars, getting like a live stream going. Maybe we can have somebody from our side pump that up. So anyway, have a great rest of your day. If there are no further questions, it was great chatting with you guys, great showing you guys new features. Thank you to the rest of the Viirtue team, everybody that was on this call. Appreciate it. Shauna, shout out. You did a great job for your first one. Loved it. But again, have a great day, guys. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Thank you, everyone.
See you, everyone.